Good evening, friends. Am I audible? Kindly, someone please confirm it.
Yes, sir, you are audible. And
Let us start the session with warm welcome. Let me introduce myself. Yes. So my name is Mir Masudul Haq, and I am a research scholar in the Department of English in Aligarh Muslim University. I am currently in my second year of my research, and I am associated with Hope from a few months. So many of you are currently joining. I will wait for 2-3 minutes more, and then I will ask. I will request our honorable guest for today's session to start the session. So let me tell you a few things about Hope. That Hope is a government registered organization. It's working on the field of education, promoting education and health, and it's right now it's conducting some online sessions and also some coaching staff for various exam with a minimum fees. And for example, they are preparing a spoken English class as well, and also WBCS and NET set coaching. So these are initiatives from mostly academics and students of various universities, central universities. It's an association of students, you can say. And as you know that we're currently conducting almost 4-5 sessions regarding this spoken English, and Hope is right now planning to start a spoken English course. It will be of almost 6 months, and it will be starting on 15th of July. এখানে অনেকেই বাংলা মানে এটা যেহেতু স্পোকেন ইংলিশের ক্লাস, তো মোস্টলি বাঙালিরাই এখানে স্পোকেন ইংলিশের জন্য এসছে। আমি বাংলায় আবার একটু বলে নেব। আহ, সেটা হচ্ছে স্পোকেন ইংলিশের আজকের যে ক্লাসটা আমাদের নেবেন সে ম্যামের সম্পর্কে আমরা বলবো। ম্যামের নাম হচ্ছে প্রফেসর সুমিতা রয়। উনি ওসমানিয়া ইউনিভার্সিটি, একটি হায়দ্রাবাদে অবস্থিত একটি ইউনিভার্সিটি, সেখানকার ফরমার হেড অফ দ্য ডিপার্টমেন্ট ছিলেন ইংলিশ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ ট্রেনিং সেন্টারের, এবং তিনি ওসমানিয়া ইউনিভার্সিটির সেন্টার ফর ইন্টারন্যাশনাল প্রোগ্রামস এর ডিরেক্টর ছিলেন। তো ওনাকে আজকে আমরা পেয়ে সবাই প্রচন্ড আপ্লুত। ওনার যে সমস্ত অভিজ্ঞতা এবং স্পোকেন ইংলিশ সম্বন্ধে তার যে ধারণা, এবং অনেক দিন ধরে উনি কাজ করেছেন। ওনার কাজের শেষ নেই। উনি অনেক প্রাজ্ঞ একজন ব্যক্তিত্ব, তাকে আমরা পেয়েছি, আমাদের সৌভাগ্য, এবং তার কাছ থেকে আমরা অনেক কিছু জানবো। তো আপনাদেরকে আমি একটা রিকোয়েস্ট করছি, কাইন্ডলি আপনারা এই যে সেশনটা চলবে, এই সেশন চলার সময় প্লিজ কেউ আপনাদের ভিডিও বা অডিও অন করবেন না। কোন রকম প্রশ্ন থাকলে সেটা আপনারা নোট করে রাখুন। আপনারা তাকে সেইগুলোকে চ্যাট বক্সে ক্রমানুযায়ী দিতে পারেন। আমি সেগুলো নোট করে রাখবো, এবং সেশনের শেষে আমরা ম্যামের সঙ্গে সেই বিষয়ে 10 মিনিট কথা বলে নেব। তো আমি আর দেরি না করে আই উড লাইক টু রিকোয়েস্ট Professor Sumita Roy, please to address the session and provide us with your knowledgeable expertise. Thank you, ma'am.
My greetings to all of you. I hope audio is clear. Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Mir Masudul Haq, for the nice words you have said. I'm happy that you spoke in 2 languages, because to learn English well, we can take help of our mother tongue. Therefore, do not feel shy to use your mother tongue only at the primary level. When you come to a higher level of English, then you have to avoid using your mother tongue. But those of you who are learning English at the lower level, you are not confident about your English, please make use of 2-3 languages, whatever you know. I'm very happy that Hope is doing such good work. I'm happy that all of you have joined today. the topic which I have chosen is language and communication. Let me first speak about communication, then I will speak about language, and last I will answer all your questions. As you heard, for about 10 minutes, we will have question answer session. Let us begin from communication. Since you have courses in spoken English, as you just heard, that there will be a course in spoken English, we all think that communication means to speak English well. But please don't make that mistake. Speaking is only 25% of communication. We can never learn to speak unless we learn 100% of communication. And what are those other 75%? So let us see what they are and how they help us to speak. Spoken is only one part out of 4 parts. These 4 parts are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So I will repeat again. Listening, first skill of communication. The small baby who's born does not speak first. The little child listens. For 1 year, it listens to the mother tongue. Then after a year, it starts speaking slowly 1 or 2 words. So for us, listening is very important. Then comes speaking. But reading is the third skill, very important for spoken English, and writing also is very important for spoken English. So all of you who want to speak English well, try to practice all the 4 skills each day. You cannot practice only once a week or once in 10 days. You must practice it every day, because unless we build upon a foundation, unless we keep building, the building will not become higher and higher. We cannot build the 10th floor without building the first floor. So we have to go by step. Therefore, all of you must remember that for you to benefit from learning English, benefit in speaking English, you have to do it every day. So start from tomorrow. Since you are attending the course today, you start from tomorrow. Many of you might join the 6 months course also. That will be wonderful because it will give you practice of speaking. Now, before we learn all these things, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, you must remember that there are 2 things about English. One is you have knowledge of English. You have studied English in your school. You have written exams in English. And the other is awareness, that whatever you know about English, you are able to use it practically. Here we have a problem. You know, the biggest problem of speakers of English is this problem. Everybody has knowledge. We don't have to teach you A, B, C, D. We don't have to teach you what is a noun, what is a verb. All of you have studied this in some part of your school or college. You have not come to this level without studying English, at least a little bit of English. So you have knowledge, but you have knowledge from books. You don't have knowledge of practicing. So the knowledge of practicing is what is called awareness. So you have to today start increasing your awareness of English. Don't acquire more and more knowledge. People keep saying that, give us many books. You cannot learn communication from books. You can learn communication only by practice. Since many of you are Bengali, I can share with you that although my mother tongue is Bengali, I didn't have any formal education in Bengali. I can speak, I can listen. I learned to read and write at home, not in a school and college. I know equally well Telugu because I studied in school and college. I was born and brought up in Hyderabad. I never stayed in West Bengal. So I know Bengali because I learned it by practice, not by knowledge, not by education. So you can imagine, you can learn a language by practice. You need not learn it only from books. So all of you who think that you can learn communication from a book, you must change that attitude. Communication comes when you practice it yourself. All hundreds of courses which you attend will not make you better unless you practice. In a course, if there are 20 people, out of that 10 will learn if they practice. 10 who have not practiced will not learn. You give them 6 months course, you give them 6 years course, they will not learn unless they themselves practice. Therefore, practice is most important. Nobody can learn communication unless you practice. So please make up your mind that you're going to do self-improvement practice from tomorrow. Now, what will you practice? That is the question which all of you want to ask. We want to practice, but what will we practice? Now, let me tell you, listening. Every day, try to listen to some good English, at least for 1 or 2 minutes. There are so many videos on YouTube. There are so many, channels where you can get a lot of English. So listen, don't listen for half an hour, 1 hour, not so much. At least 1 or 2 minutes. But listening only once is not enough. Please remember that if you listen only once, you understand the meaning. We are not interested in meaning only. We are interested in learning the language for communication. Remember the topic for today, language and communication. I'm talking about communication first. I will talk about language second. So when you listen to 2 minutes, please listen to it 5 times at least. First time, understand the meaning. Second time, look at the structure of the sentences. Look at how the sentences are constructed. Now I'm speaking to you. I will speak for about 45 minutes. You are only listening to the meaning. You are not listening to my English. You are not listening to my language. You are only grasping the meaning of what I'm saying in English. So that is the first listening. But second, third, fourth, fifth, the structures become a part of your memory. Your mind becomes more oriented towards correct English when you listen and you try to remember. If you listen and you remember these structures, you will find that your spoken English is improving. Why we cannot speak English is because we have no confidence that we will be able to use the right word, the right grammar, or the right pronunciation, etc. So when you are listening, look at the words, look at the sentences, look at the pronunciation, how the language is used. Today, we all need English. We don't love English more than our mother tongue. We all love our mother tongue. And India is a beautiful country with many, many languages. So each of us might know 4, 5, 6 languages. We have Dakkani Urdu, we have Telugu, we have Hindi, we have English. My mother tongue is Bengali, so I have Bengali. So many languages. It doesn't mean that you cannot learn more than one language. You can certainly learn English because English is necessary for your professional life. Every day I get many emails. I get many phone calls and WhatsApp messages. We are not able to get a good job because we have no English. We are working, we cannot get a promotion because our English is bad. We get rejected because English is bad. We feel depressed because English is bad. First mistake you're making is you are not listening to good English. See, if you want to learn Hindi, you can listen. All over the country, you can listen. You want to learn Bangla, you go to West Bengal, you will hear the language, you can easily learn. You don't need a book, you have to just listen. You come to Telangana or Andhra Pradesh, you will learn Telugu. You don't need a book. You go down south, you can learn, Kannada, Tamil, or Malayalam. You go west, you can learn Gujarati, Marathi. You go north, you can learn Punjabi and Kashmiri. You can learn, if you go northeast, there are so many languages you can learn. You go to Orissa, you go to, all the other, even the Hindi belt, there are so many versions of the language. Rajasthan is different, Madhya Pradesh is different, Uttar Pradesh is different. They speak Hindi, but certainly they are speaking a different version. Bihar is there, Jharkhand is there, all of them, Chhattisgarh is there. They are all speaking. So we have a wonderful multilingual country where English has become a professional necessity, not love. So unless you listen to good English, how will you improve your English? So every day for the next 6 months or next 1 year, make it a habit. 2 minutes passage from anywhere you select. Good English, 2 minutes. Excellent speeches of great people are available. You will find that if you listen to 2 minutes for 5 times, today you learned some English. Again, tomorrow you listen to a new passage, you learned some English. Day after you learned a new passage, you learned. This is not by heart. It is going into your memory. You are looking at the mind, which is like a computer. There are empty files, there is empty GB space inside. Now you are storing in your empty space some English. You need not learn the passage by heart, but you notice every word, every pronunciation, every sentence, then your English becomes better. After 6 months, you won't need any dictionary or any grammar book for English. You will be able to speak because in your memory, all the 6 months of 2 minutes listening is there. Similarly, the third skill, reading. Reading is also very important for us to learn to speak English. The best way of learning is to read loudly. Every day, spend 5 minutes or again spend 2 minutes. Read about 100 or 200 words from a good place. Google has so many sites. You can open any site of your interest. Read for 2 minutes, but read it loudly so that your words can be heard by your ears. So you are listening, you are reading, you are understanding the meaning and also paying attention to the language. Again, no need to read it once because reading once is not good enough. We have to do it repeatedly. If you want to improve your spoken English, then every day, new passage, read it 5 times and continue this practice for at least 6 months. So listening and reading are the foundation of spoken English. Unless you listen and read, you cannot learn. Then speaking and writing are our activities. When you want to use good English, people will know whether your English is good or bad only when you speak or when you write. These are the 2 activities you have to show that you have learned English. So when you spoke, when we heard Mir Masudul Haq speaking English. He said he's doing PhD in English. So he could speak English. Now I know that, yes, he knows English. How did I know? I did not check his listening or reading. I don't know how much he listens or reads. But when he spoke, I could immediately make out. You have to write in your college or in your workplace, you have to write letters to your boss or to your principal, to your supervisor. You have to write emails. You have to write WhatsApp messages. Always try to write formal standard English when you are learning English. After you have learned very well, you can write informal also. But when you are learning, please don't learn GR8, figure 8 with great. Instead of saying GREAT, you write GR and you write 8. That is wonderful for a person who knows excellent English. But a person who doesn't know excellent English should not use this informal usage. Learn formal English first, because in your professional life, you will need formal English. So listening and reading formal English will help you. Now speaking. What will you do for speaking? You need to speak on your own. Now see, you are giving me a chance to speak. So my spoken English is improving. Your spoken English is not improving. You are listening, you are not speaking. Now, if you are speaking, then what you get, just now we have in the chat box the idea about grammar. Please remember that when you are listening and reading, you should concentrate on the grammar. I told you about my own speech. I'm speaking to you, but none of you is paying attention to the grammar, because you have to listen to the meaning. Today you have come to listen to the meaning. This session is being recorded. So tomorrow, if you listen to my session, you already know what is the meaning. You don't have to bother. Then you look at the sentences. Just now I said, don't look at the meaning. Now what did I use? I used a sentence. Don't, which is a helping verb. Look, which is a verb. At, which is a preposition. The, which is an article. Meaning, which is a noun. So all these parts of speech you have learned in your school or college. You need not learn them again, but you are not listening to them word by word like that. Therefore, you make mistake. So the mistake is, don't look at meaning. So what did you miss out? You missed out article. So if you say don't look at meaning, your sentence is correct. Everybody can understand, but your English is bad. That is because you made a grammatical mistake there. So either we can have substandard English, that is low level English, or we can have excellent English. So your aim should be excellent English. And that excellent English comes when you look at real situations and learn. If I tell you to learn a noun or article from a grammar book, you will learn and you will pass an exam, but you will not be able to use it in your real life. I'm sure you know people who get 90 marks in English always come and tell me very often that, Madam, we cannot speak correct English, but in the exam we got full marks. See our marks, full marks, grammar complete, vocabulary complete, excellent marks, but not in real life. That is because they are not practicing. So when you practice English, then what you have to do is you have to make many mistakes, grammatical and other mistakes, but you must be able to analyze your own mistakes. So the storeroom for your knowledge, for your awareness, is listening and reading. Now, with listening and reading, you are building up your grammar, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, and reading and writing, spelling, punctuation. All these are the 5 elements of language. I said language and communication. So what are we learning? We are learning grammar, we are learning vocabulary, we are learning pronunciation, spelling, and punctuation. So these 5 elements of language you have to learn. Grammar. When you look at a sentence, then you immediately, it has to be grammatical. That grammatical sentence is what you require. No grammar book is necessary for this, but a lot of exposure to listening and reading is necessary, because unless we have listening and speaking, listening and reading to build up the English, our spoken English cannot improve. So when you are speaking, keep 3 things in mind. One is that you will have to first realize that you are making some mistake. You don't know what mistake, but when you speak, you feel uncomfortable, that my English is not good, I'm making mistake. That is level 1. Your discomfort with your language. Second is, after you have listened and read for a few months, you are able to spot your mistake. That, oh, I made a mistake and this is my mistake. It cannot happen in one day. Please remember, you have to analyze your speech. Today we all have smartphone. So every day, whatever idea it comes to be to your mind, try to speak about that for a minute or 2, record it, listen to it, and see how did you speak. If you have friends, speak to them. That will be wonderful. If you don't have friends, please speak and analyze it yourself. First, can you make out that your English is not good? That is level 1. Level 2, can you make out what mistake you are making? That is the second level. Third level is, can you correct a mistake which you make? How will you get this ability? You will get this ability when you start bringing, a knowledge of all the listening and reading to correct your own practice. Therefore, you have to do this. Now, a question is asked about the simple present tense and the present continuous tense. As far as possible, because Indian English, very often we translate. We try to use the present continuous most often. But as far as English is concerned, the simple present is a better tense. It is called a universal tense. But don't worry about it. I can give you a grammar lesson now, but I'm trying to tell you again and again that the mistake learners of English make, the mistake all of you, I also learned English like you with great difficulty. All of us make the mistake by thinking that if we learn grammar first, we can learn speaking. That is not correct. Please remember, you might have excellent grammar and no spoken English, no ability to speak correctly. You can identify when you are reading correct English, but when you speak, the mistakes keep happening. That is where you have to remember, try to avoid using continuous tense as far as possible, because the continuous tense only has the ability to show an action which is continuous for some time. I am speaking to you. If I say, that means it is happening now. I speak to you is a better tense because I'm telling you so many things. I am telling is continuous tense. Whereas if when Mukul invited me on the behalf of Hope, he will say, you talk to us. There, the continuous form is not necessary. Okay? Therefore, we have to use that. Now, Mohammad Tausif Ali has asked this question. I would also like to correct one point. I'm sure all of you can see the chat box. Basically, don't use this word. This is a very, very common misuse of the word. What does it mean, basically? This sentence does not require the word basically. So how will you learn such a thing? You will learn when you have more exposure to the language. Exposure to English is what is missing in all our lives. So we have to learn to be very careful. Now, how to become an attractive speaker in English? Sohail Rana has asked. That is a good question. First, you learn correct English. Nobody can be a good speaker if you make mistakes. So the first level of learning is what is called as fluency. Fluency means your thoughts and your words come at the same time. You don't think and then you translate into the English and speak. Then there is a gap. That is how the beginning learner of English does, or any language. Any language which you are talking about, you do that. So when you are able to speak correct English, what we call sophisticated English, then you can become a good speaker. But remember, good speaker is not only good English, it is also good ideas, good points. If you say something which your audience does not like, if you say something which is conflicting, if you say something which is not useful, then your audience will not like you. Therefore, you must understand the requirement of the audience. This is called audience skill, very important skill for speakers. You have many courses in public speaking which you can learn, which you can, benefit from. And I hope that you become an excellent speaker. I feel very happy that all of you are so keen. If we want, we can become the best. I want all of you to become really the best. Therefore, please keep working hard and you will find that you are becoming absolutely the best. Now, another question is also asked, and that is, I think if you want me to explain stative verb and all that, it will take, many days. It doesn't happen in 1 minute. Therefore, try to avoid asking questions in grammar. Today, we are talking not about grammar, but about communication. Okay? Please talk about communication. You have also asked about a book. I will tell you a short story here. There was a very learned scholar who was going in a boat, and he was bragging that I've read so many books, I'm so well read, and I know so much. The poor boatman did not read any book. He was illiterate. So he said, sorry, I have not read anything. The scholar said, your life is a waste. You have not read anything. Suddenly in the river, a storm came, and it became terrible. Then the boatman asked, sir, do you know how to swim? He said, no, I read 20 books on swimming, but I don't know how to swim. Then he said, your 100% life is finished because now you will not be alive. The storm is going to drown the boat. I know how to swim, so I will save myself, but I won't be able to save you. So please remember that the book is only a support for us. The book is not a substitute for English. Suppose you want to do PhD like our friend Mir is doing. Then you need to learn grammar from a book. You want to do PhD in English language, you will need a lot of books. But if your aim is to speak English, if your aim is to communicate in English, speak and write, that means, then your grammar book is not going to help you. Please remember that the grammar book is an impediment, because you will always be looking at the grammar rules, but there are many exceptions to the rules of grammar. And we are not talking about, the recent teaching methods of English are not talking about dependence on grammar. Many people don't know grammar. If you ask me the grammar of my own mother tongue, I don't know. But I can speak to you in correct Bengali for hours together without knowing what is the grammar of my language. So knowing grammar is no assurance of communication. Not knowing grammar is not a barrier for communication. So please remember these things whenever you talk about it. Whenever you have a question on grammar, like somebody else, as Devraj has asked about the use of tense, let me again tell you once more that I'm not concentrating on grammar today. I'm not talking about grammar, because all of you think communication means spoken English and language means grammar. That is the wrong idea. Communication means 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. Language is 5 skills: grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, spelling, punctuation. That is most important. So you have to remember that when you are using this, speaking every day, correcting your own speech, writing every day write one, half a page or 100 words. Nobody has the habit of writing at all. If you write, suppose you get very excited, very happy, write about it. Suppose you get very angry, very upset, you fight with a friend, don't go and say bad words. You write in your book. That is like a wonderful mind management technique. It is therapy. It is a treatment. You can go to this and you can do it. Many ideas I have given. All of you can visit that YouTube site. It is, Human Excellence Ramakrishna Math, Pune. There you will find all these ideas about how to, use writing, reading, speaking, and many other things like critical thinking, etc. There are about 20, 30 videos there, half an hour each. You can watch at your leisure and you can learn from them. That if you do, therefore, your English improves, not by looking at the tenses, but by practice. Now, in your mother tongue, even if you do not know, you never make mistakes in tenses. The reason is because for 20 years of your life, you have practiced your mother tongue. If you practice English for 20 years, you will have no problem about speaking. So make it a practice to speak every day, to listen every day, to read every day, and to write every day, minimum. And speaking and writing, you analyze your own English based on the knowledge which you have. Don't look at external teachers. We always depend on external teachers, but that is not good. Self-improvement is important. So self-improvement would imply that we build up our knowledge of English by listening and reading, and we try to improve our English in speaking and writing based on the knowledge which we gained from listening. When we are speaking, when we are doing oral communication, there is a difference between oral and written communication. When we are talking in terms of oral communication, very often you can use words like, very often, etc., which Shubhadeep Jana has asked. If you are using it in speaking, like I'm using very often, so therefore, all these are connectives. These are called connectives. Connectives make the speech easier. And as you are thinking, these are fillers so that you can talk about again. The YouTube channel I mentioned is Human Excellence, Ramakrishna Mutt, Pune, Pune. Pune, earlier it was called Pune, now it is called Pune. So this is Ramakrishna Mutt, Pune. They have a channel called Human Excellence. So if you type Human Excellence Ramakrishna Mutt, Pune, you will get many, many videos they have. Out of that, you can look at the self-improvement videos. That will give you English listening also, and it will give you many ideas for improvement. So when you are doing LSRW, please remember that you are going to analyze grammar. How many tenses are used? How prepositions are used? Maximum mistakes Indians make is in prepositions and articles, not so much in tenses as in prepositions and articles. We have different structure of language in our mother tongue. English is a different structure. Very good question is asked. Where will we get the environment to speak English? Don't depend on an external environment. Today's generation has the greatest advantage, and that is you have a lot of technology. When I was learning English, all this technology was not available. Today you can listen online, you can read online. While speaking, you can record it yourself, and you can also look at the, what you call it, writing and reading also can be done online. If you are writing on your computer, you will immediately get, if there's a spelling mistake, red colored line comes. If there's a grammatical mistake, green colored light comes. Then when you click on it, you can immediately find what is the correction you have to do. But please remember, this cannot be done in 1 or 2 days. If you want immediately, if you want to learn immediately, tomorrow I should become excellent in English. That is not possible. Please remember that you cannot do it like that. You have to practice for a long, long time. 40 years of my life, I have been teaching English. Another 20 years, I learned English. Still, I'm learning English. I cannot say that today I have learned English completely. So all of you, don't think that you can learn in a minute. You must practice. Any book, you can read. I'm not telling you anything. A list of books or a name of a book, that is restricting. Remember, India is a free country, so we have freedom. You start by reading children's books. Children's grammar book, if you read, they have grammar books, class 1 to 8 or 1 to 10. You buy that book and you work out all the exercises if you want to improve your grammar. What they need 10 years to learn, you can do in 10 days. But you do it again and again and again. The child will do it only once in the whole year. In 10 days, you do each book 10 times. Then you will find that your ability has become more. Why is it that we did not learn English after studying up to this level? All of you have studied something. The reason is because we never paid attention to English. We paid attention to other things. Many students of engineering tell me that we don't know English. I say, you read so many fat books of your engineering subject. Which language is it in? It's in English only. They said, but we never thought it is in English. We only read the subject. We didn't read the language. So we have to change, we have to change, because unless we become aware of the language, unless wherever we see on the road, one poster is there, some advertisement comes on television, we are aware of English. Say, okay, that is English which is being used. Unless we become aware, we will never be able to improve our English. We will keep reading one or two. I have done some videos also on, tales and parables of Sri Ramakrishna, since somebody asked. This you can, I have done some YouTube videos on this. That's why I'm putting this. And Cradle Tales of Hinduism. This also is there on YouTube. Sister Nivedita was an Irishman, an Irish lady, but she wrote Cradle Tales of Hinduism. If you read, many people think that we are reading the meaning, but no, English is perfect because her mother tongue was English. Many times, it so happens that, people who are writing in newspapers today might not know very good English. So earlier we used to say that follow the newspaper. Newspaper English is very good. But today I cannot say the same thing, because sometimes there is mistake in the newspaper. I want your English to become so good that you will be able to find out that, oh, there's a mistake in this newspaper. How did you find it? I told you there are 3 levels. One is, you know there is something wrong, but you don't know what it is. Second is, you know exactly what is wrong. And third is, you are able to correct what is wrong. These are the 3 stages of language learning. This, you are able to help yourself, not depend on a book or not depend on an outsider or a friend or anybody, but improving yourself every day. What you do is, when thoughts come to your mind, all of us are thinking 24 hours of each day. When the thought comes, it comes in our mother tongue. Try to translate it into English then and there. Start thinking in English. If you can start thinking in English, then what will happen is that slowly, your thought process will bring you fluency. Your thought and your word will become similar because you have started thinking in English. Then it would be wonderful if you can improve by depending on yourself. Language, 5 skills. Communication, 4 skills. So total you have 9 skills which you need to practice every day. So every day you have to do all the 9 yourself. And it becomes many more, because in listening you have to look at 3 skills. That is grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. Then you have speaking, again 3 skills. So it became 3 plus 3, 6. Then reading, you have all 5. Grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, spelling, punctuation. Then you also have another one, and that is, the ability to speak. Now, I will share one, since you have many doubts about it, I will try to see if I can share one story. Tomorrow, I have a session in a college, so I'm going to use this story for them. Let me see if I can show you that one slide, and then I will tell you how you can improve. I hope it is big enough for you to read. This is a part of a story from the book which I gave you, and that is Tales and Parables of Sri Ramakrishna. Now look at the first thing. It starts with an article. So we are learning grammar here. Whenever we mention a singular noun, we have to use an article. Here it is a specific singular noun. So we are saying the chameleon. Now pronunciation is very important. CH can be k, CH can be sh, CH can be ch. Many pronunciations are there for CH. So we have to see. Chameleon. That is how the pronunciation is. So this is pronounced as k. This is pronounced as me, stress. In English, we have what is called as accent or stress. So then we have small, lian, lian. So the pronunciation is the chameleon, chameleon. That is how we pronounce. Now, when you listen to this story or when you read this story, immediately idea should come to your mind. How is this pronounced? Why article the is used? Now, look at the story. Once a man entered a wood. Now, the word wood here means forest. So, meaning also, vocabulary is coming. So, a wood and saw a small animal on a tree. Now see, a wood, a small animal, a tree. So throughout we have used indefinite article, whereas the chameleon we have used definite article. Then you look at the word, he told another man about its beautiful color. Now look at the word C-O-L-O-U-R, spelling. If you have British spelling, it is C-O-L-O-U-R. If you have American spelling, US, then it is C-O-L-O-R. So you're getting an idea that, we are reading it in the British format. If we change it, then the format becomes American. Since Microsoft is American, C-O-L-O-U-R is red in color. Can you see? On the screen, it is underlined. That means this is not the correct spelling. But we all know that if I make this, instead of US, I make it UK, then immediately the red color will go off. When I went there, now look at inverted commas. At the end of the story, inverted comma is there, question mark, inverted comma. So whenever somebody is speaking, punctuation, inverted comma. Whenever a sentence starts or whenever a quotation starts, capital letter. Problem with English is we have two kinds of letters, small letter, capital letter. We forget how to use them. So when I went there, it was green. Now it here is what we call a pronoun. So we have pronoun. He is a pronoun. It is a pronoun. It is a pronoun. How is a pronoun used? It is supposed to be used instead of a noun. When I went there, when is a conjunction. Now, when we read grammar, you can easily find all these things. So if you feel like reading some grammar, you can read. But I think that instead of reading a grammar textbook, you should take the workbook which children use in schools. Good English medium schools have, my own student has a publishing firm, Arrow Publishers. They have a series of English books for learning grammar, for learning vocabulary, etc. So when you read such books, you can immediately spot what is happening here. Then you can see again, he saw the same animal. Now we had a small animal, now it became the same animal. Look at the word, you have the word conflict. You have the word dispute, you have the word quarrel, you have the word fight, vocabulary. These are all called synonyms. So when you look at the word, somebody asked, what stories should we read for vocabulary? Any story, buy anything. If they give you a packet, it is written in English. That itself is for you a vocabulary development, because all the words which you can check up whether you really know it well or not. Then you have pronunciation. Look at the words. Entered. Very often we say entered into. Entered into is not necessary. There is unnecessary preposition. So you say a man entered a wood. By looking at this sentence, you say, oh, when I say entered, my boss entered into the office. I'm making a mistake because my boss entered the office. Therefore, you have to understand that by looking at these few words, there's hardly anything. Every idea can be understood by looking at this. We have pronunciation of ed, contradicted. So we say contradicted, ed. Then we have entered. Entered, we have only the d sound. Then you have, suppose I say talked, then I say t. I don't say talked, d, sound doesn't come. So with each, although spelling is the same, ed, pronunciation is changing completely. So how will you remember all this? How will you understand all this unless you are able to read and listen? Read and listen. Even if you listen to a simple passage or the most complicated passage, listen word by word. Listen sentence by sentence. That is why I told you that listen many times. So you look at grammar first, you look at vocabulary next, you look at pronunciation next. That way, if you listen, then this 100 words can be your lesson for one whole day. Like that, if you do, for about 100 days, 200 days, you will find that without any book, without any help, your English is improving automatically. Okay? Many of you have asked many questions. We have completed our time also. So let me hand it over to your organizers.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really an insightful session with you, and it shows that how how knowledgeable you are, that you shared some of the grammatical and pronunciation drills also during your talk. And I hope that it will be very helpful for the participants today. So we'll just revise the takeaways for today's session. ম্যাম, আমি এবার একটু বাংলায় বলছি। ম্যাম আমাদের যে কথাগুলো বলেছেন আমরা জাস্ট একবার রিভাইজ করে নেব।
আচ্ছা, এখানে কি সবাই বাঙালি?
মোস্টলি ম্যাম, আই থিংক।
আচ্ছা, মুকুলও কি বাঙালি?
ইয়েস ম্যাম।
ওকে ওকে, ফাইন ফাইন। সবাই বুঝতে পারলে বলো, বাংলায় বলো।
অলরাইট, সো আমরা একটু রিভাইজ করে নেব আমাদের ম্যাম যেগুলো আজকে বললেন সেগুলো। ম্যাম ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ কমিউনিকেশন এবং স্পিকিং এর যে চারটি অ্যাসপেক্ট বলেছেন, লিসনিং, স্পিকিং, রিডিং অ্যান্ড রাইটিং, এই যে চারটে অ্যাসপেক্ট, সেগুলো আমাদের প্রত্যেকটা অ্যাসপেক্টে প্রচন্ড গুরুত্ব দেওয়া উচিত। এবং সব থেকে ইম্পর্টেন্ট যেটা উনি বলেছেন যে প্র্যাকটিস, প্র্যাকটিস উই নো দ্যাট মেক্স ম্যান পারফেক্ট। তো উনিও সেটাই এখানে স্পোকেন ইংলিশের ক্ষেত্রেও most of the people do agree on that same page, that practice makes speaking perfect. তো এইখানে তারপরে উনি বিভিন্ন অ্যাবিলিটিস এর কথা বলেছেন, স্কিলস এর কথা বলেছেন। উনি 9টি স্কিলস এর কথা বলেছেন, আর সেগুলো আমাদেরকে কিভাবে ইমপ্রুভ করতে হবে সেইগুলো বলেছেন। তো আমরা আশা করি যে সেই ব্যাপারগুলোতে আমরা এর পরবর্তী ক্ষেত্রে নোটিস করব এবং আমরা সেইভাবে শিখব। To end the session, I would like to ask a few questions that got unnoticed uh, and I find those very interesting. So I would like to ask ma'am on behalf of Tausif Ali. He asked that the role of body language in speaking. Uh,
Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to answer that.
no,
Uh,
that's all right, ma'am. Thank you.
Body language is very important when we meet face to face, mainly because online I can't see all of you, except sometimes I can see you. You can see me, certainly, but I'm sitting. I'm just not able to show you everything except maybe my face and a little, like a small passport size photograph. Body language is important, especially because it makes your expression clearer. You might see when I'm speaking, very often without realizing I'm moving my hands. So you have to practice your body language, which is natural and also cultural. Body language in our country is different from body language if you're speaking outside India. When I go to speak in other countries, I must use the body language which is accepted with them. In India, we have a very limited use of body language. We don't have so much use because we consider that, holding our hands together, standing straight, etc., are very good etiquette. But in other countries, you raise your shoulders, that's called shrugging. You make facial expressions. We don't do much of that. So it depends on the kind of audience you're speaking to. As I told you, we change our attitudes and we change our speaking style to suit the audience. So depending on your audience, depending on the culture of the background of where you're speaking, keep those items in mind. Body language is very important. They say that 80% of your speech is your body language and only 20% is the words which you are using. I don't know, online I cannot say that is correct, but offline maybe if I meet any of you in real life, maybe we will try it out if it really works. But when you remember, when you meet each other, you smile at each other, you talk politely, and you listen, with a lot of attention, showing that your eyes are concentrating, that person will feel happy. Your audience will feel very happy if you do that. In online, we don't have those things. So that's slightly different in,
Excuse me, ma'am. I think your mic got muted.
in digital and in physical mode, body language differs. Okay, very good question.
All right. One last question, and then we'll just sum up our session. And so the final questions is from Samaun Mondol. Samaun Mondol. He asks that what are the ways to remember words? I mean, remembering new words.
Okay, now let me tell you, don't try to learn new words. When you are learning spoken English, try to recollect what words you know already. We have what is called as active vocabulary. Suppose I ask you, how's the weather? You say, good. Can't you say pleasant? Can't you say warm? Can't you say cool? So many words are there, all words which you know, but you don't use. You say good or you say awesome. That is not correct. We have made our vocabulary mechanical. Don't be like that. Whatever words you know, you try to use them maximum. Unless you use the words maximum, you will not be able to, remember that you know these words. After you have become fluent in practicing, usually we use about 1,000 words when actually we know 5,000 words. We are not using all the 5,000. 4,000 we are keeping inside and we are only using 1,000 again and again. Same words again and again. So we should never do that. First, practice all those 5,000. the best way to do is to make many sentences with the word which you want to use regularly. You know many good words, but you have to use them by practicing. Once you practice regularly, you will get a lot of help. Those words will come to your memory when you are speaking or when you're writing. Otherwise, they don't come. Suppose you are appearing for a competitive exam where vocabulary is important, then you start learning new words by looking at one or two words, their meaning, and practicing at least 10 to 20 sentences with them. So if per day you can learn 10 words, then you have to make 100 sentences or 200 sentences till that word is embedded in your mind because you have made so many sentences. That is the best way where you have to do. Okay?
All right, friends, we're at the end of the session, and I would like to thank ma'am on behalf of Hope, and personally, it was truly an enlightening lecture from your side. Personally, I have also learned so many aspects of my language, and I hope that someday we will meet. And I wish best for the participants too. They have all, I think that they have recollected many things, and they have they will be very this session will be very helpful for them. So on behalf of Hope, I would like to announce that from 15th of July, Hope is going to start a course on spoken English. Those of you who are interested, they can easily enroll on in that because the course fee is very minimum. And I would like to thank again the organizers, the participants, and especially ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
Okay, I will leave the meeting now. All the best.
Yes,
I hope
ma'am.
all
Thank
of
you
you
so much,
learn
ma'am.
excellent English.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.